So I was tagged in this Am I the A-hole thread from a woman. And per usual, she is simply looking for validation for feeling these feelings. She says, Am I the a-hole for telling my husband that I would have never agreed to have his child if I knew he would go back on our agreement? It doesn't sound like you're the a-hole, but let's jump into the post. She says, I, 36-year-old woman, am a neurologist and I absolutely love my patients and my job. I believe there is no greater honor in life than being able to help others. The road to my medical degree was not easy and it was paved with many rejections. I was a troubled teen in high school and didn't get accepted into any colleges my senior year. I had to work my way up, starting with remedial classes at my local community college. When I finally got into medical school at 26, I was absolutely thrilled. I met my husband, 37-year-old man, in my third year of medical school. We have been married for 4 years now. My husband works in marketing, and I make 3 times his salary. From the beginning of our relationship, I was very upfront that I was unsure about having biological children. My dream was always to adopt from foster care, and my husband seemingly understood this. However, after his best friend had a baby boy last year, he really began to press me on having children. I was initially very against this idea because I was just beginning my career and wanted to wait a few more years before revisiting the topic of children. In August of last year, I found out I was unexpectedly pregnant due to a condom breaking during Nookie. I was initially considering being unpregnant, but after many heartfelt conversations with my husband, we decided to keep the baby and he would quit his job and stay home with our daughter until our daughter was old enough to start preschool. There were several factors that went into our decision to have him stay home with our daughter. I make significantly more money than him, so financially it just made more sense. I am in the first few years of my career as an attending physician. After 4 years of med school and 4 years of residency, I am just starting to practice on my own, whereas my husband has been in his career for 15 years. I was very clear. I had absolutely zero desire to stay home and be a housewife. I respect stay-at-home mothers, but my work is my life, and I will go crazy at home all day. It just isn't the lifestyle I want whatsoever. Finally, I am not comfortable putting my child in daycare until she is old enough to express herself verbally. As a victim of molestation when I was young, I do not trust people enough to leave my daughter in the hands of strangers when she would be unable to report abuse or neglect. Our daughter is 9 weeks old today, and I am preparing to return to my practice in a few weeks. This weekend, I left my husband alone with our daughter while attending a medical conference out of state. The conference was amazing, but when I returned home, my husband began acting weird. Today, when our daughter was napping, I pressed him to tell me what was wrong. He absolutely broke down and said he doesn't think he can do this. He expressed how trapped, alone, and overwhelmed he felt all weekend. He now wants me to extend my maternity leave and is talking about trying to get his job back. This made me freak out. And I asked, well, what do we do with our daughter now? He responded by suggesting I leave my practice and work from home. I said, absolutely not. And he suggested daycare. At this point, I just lost my and screamed. If I knew you were going to back out of your promise to take care of our daughter, I would have never had your child. I know I completely overreacted. I would never trade our daughter for anything. I love her so much, but I am upset with my husband and not sure how to move forward at this point. And the very first comment that you see here, can you get a nanny? And truthfully, if you go back here to where he expressed being trapped, alone, and overwhelmed, this is precisely what many new moms who are stay-at-home moms or on an extended maternity leave feel. So I completely empathize with this man. And the fact that the social networking, the play dates and all of that is very, very woman oriented. It's very much women doing this thing. So he may not have the capacity to dive into those those groups to find an outlet to talk to other adults. I completely get this. And if we go down here where this mom, where she was talking about she doesn't want to be a stay-at-home mother, she respects stay-at-home mothers, but she would go crazy at home all day. So I think that she knows that this could be a gig that would drive you crazy. So I honestly believe for this couple, once she gets past the fact that she is enraged right now, she is really enraged. I think that getting a nanny would be the best of both worlds for these people, because money is probably not going to be an issue because, like she said, she makes 3 times the amount that he does. And getting a nanny would mean that he could probably work from home. He could still, be there just in case his daughter needs them while having another adult here. And then if he is working, getting a nanny shouldn't be a financial burden for them. She just has to work through the issues of being upset that her husband said he could do something. But reality of having the child is completely different of when you say, I can do this, but the baby's not here. That sleep deprivation, the reality, the crying, it is a completely different ball game than making a decision before the kid is actually here. All right, so let's get into some more of these comments. This person says, this would totally work. My husband worked from home, but we also had a nanny so he could visit our daughter a lot during the day, but he was also child free for working. I, of course, went to the office every day. Our nanny was wonderful. You just have to know exactly what you're looking for and screen for that. And then Wally the Gecko says, it's also worth noting the OP at least seems to be in a fair position to hire an above average nanny. So rather than hiring some teenager or college student that's just trying to make an extra buck with a glorified babysitting gig on the days they're otherwise free, they can get an educated, certified professional whose own career or livelihood would be entirely on the line or something to go wrong. And maybe financially speaking, paying for such a good nanny just so the dad can go back to work ends up being a wash. But it let both of them go back to work like they want and keep their kid cared for. And that's what I'm saying. With this situation, I think that you can find a solution. You just have to get out of the initial stages of being upset. Silver Dryad says, I was an above average nanny. This is a great solution. My charges got very little TV, lots of trips to the parks, libraries, events, living history museums. We did lots of art, music, stories, and mostly someone who talked to them, answered their questions with real answers. An enriching environment is critical to the intellectual growth, and adults who are emotionally dependable are critical to emotional growth. Find a nanny who understands this and sings songs and brings treats. Absolutely. I think that this is literally the best of both worlds. But you guys can jump in the comments. I don't think she's the a-hole for being upset, but I also don't think he's the a-hole for being overwhelmed. I do believe that more men need to experience what he experienced. For women in our roles as mothers and women who stay home full time, I think more men need to go through this so that they can appreciate the jobs that we do as wives and moms. But you guys go ahead and weigh in and let me know what you think about this one. Okay, someone sent me this story to my Instagram inbox, and you have to stick with this to the end because we have seen this OP before. Nothing, nobody. But let's do this one first, and then I will bring in where we have already seen her. She says, my husband skipped his back surgery and now I want a divorce. So, for context, my husband, 41-year-old man, and I, 40-year-old woman, have both had back injuries. I went to PT for my several injuries and got better. I worked my body back from pregnancies and now I'm a bodybuilder. My husband, on the other hand, has spent the last 20 years avoiding work. I can't mow the lawn. I might hurt my back. Even though you're pregnant, you have to do it because you're smaller than me and you won't get hurt as easily. I can't help with the kids. I might hurt my back. I can't clean the garage. I might hurt my back. Those are some of the things he would say almost daily. I did hurt my back doing those things. As a 4'11" woman and he a 6'3" man, he always put much more burden on me than he was willing to take on himself. Fast forward to last year, his disc started breaking down and he's in constant pain. So then he helps even less than before. Around the same time, my back was injured from doing the things that had to be done that he never tried to help with. We both signed up for PT. I went every week and did the workouts at home. He went once and gave up. My back got better, his didn't. I lost 20 pounds and turned my body into solid muscle. My 18-year-old bodybuilding son became my coach. I've always loved fitness, but after my twins were born 6 years ago, it was so hard to find time to work out effectively, especially with my husband not wanting to be active in taking care of the twins. You're breastfeeding, and they only want you, so I can't help. His back got worse and worse to the point where he couldn't bend over at all. We consulted a surgeon, and his surgery was supposed to be 2 days ago. As they were prepping him for surgery, he decided he didn't want it and walked out. He claims he's not in as much pain, and for the next year or two, he has to keep doing what I've been doing, which means not helping with kids or the house at all, and that somehow is going to make him better. He also is not willing to join the gym or go to PT. It seems like he really just wants to use it as an excuse, and I'm so over it. I'm already doing everything myself. Why should I be carrying around his dead weight too? Yesterday, I was showing off my progress wearing pants 2 sizes smaller than last year, muscle definition in my whole body. And while I was excitedly bouncing around in my smaller clothes, he asked me if I was drunk and told me I looked silly. I told him I don't really care what he thinks anymore. Not going to let him put me down and mock me for working on myself while he sits on his behind and does nothing. Okay, so that's this post. So let's do some of the comments because some things come out. Bunny PT says, so no sex, he might hurt his back. And then the OP says, actually, he tells me that. We hardly ever have sex anymore, maybe once a month. And Normal Human says, what do you get out of this relationship in terms of actual tangible things? And she says, actually, at this point, not much. But having been a stay at home mom for years, I'm now struggling to find stable income on my own that would be enough to support me and the kids without his income. Wolf Ate Lamb says, you realize how contradictory that is, right? Like, what do you mean you're not getting anything out of this? You're financially taken care of with your 4 kids. Like, if he works all day, your job is literally taking care of the home. If you don't like that, you should have gotten a job out of the home long ago. But don't get upset when the guy who's out all day working and generating 100% of the family's finances doesn't want to come home and clean up the toys off the floor. Okay, to that, the OP says, other than income, he literally does nothing. He leaves a mess, doesn't clean up, doesn't take care of the kids doesn't mow the lawn or anything at all. And he says he's going to continue doing nothing at home ever, at least for a few years to take it easy. I have some income, just not enough to support everyone alone yet. Now, this is where we start to find some things. Auntie Nickname says, between this and your other posts, it sounds like your husband really sucks and you should leave him. So that is where I'm going to stop this comment section and we're going to find the other post. Y'all, this is the woman who has a husband that supposedly has IBS who wants to come in while she's taking a shower or bath to poop. So I went back when I clicked her name from 10 days ago. She's the one that did the am I the a-hole for locking the door when I showered? So here is her update. She had posted an update. I didn't know she had posted an update, but some people might not have seen this story when I did it. So let me do some of the story. She says, I'm married to my husband. Whenever I shower or take a bath, even if I lock the door, he comes in and uses the toilet, stinking it up and ruining my relaxation. It has bothered me for years. We have 2 bathrooms. One has a tub, the other does not. He tells me he doesn't like using the other bathroom, so he has to use the main bathroom. He does have IBS, and he blames his behavior on that. If I lock the door, he'll use a penny or a screwdriver to open it up, as it is one of those locks that you can open from the outside. We have small kids, so we don't want them to accidentally lock themselves in the bathroom. That's why the lock can be opened from the outside. I can't take long showers or baths when he's at work, as I need to be watching our children. So I have to wait till he's home. Most days, I only get a short shower, as the kids will start asking for things almost right away. So I usually only take a long bath every few weeks when I need to relax. So this is where she's talking about now she learned that she could just pull the drawer out and it would stop him from coming in. and he gets mad. And she's wondering if she's the a-hole for locking him out because she's trying to take a shower or bath. Now, let's do the update. Okay, she says, update. Thank you all so much. I never thought this post would get so much attention. You've all encouraged me so much. Long story short, I grew up in a very patriarchal church culture. And while I have left that religion, I'm still trying to figure out what is and isn't normal behavior for marriage, trying to understand how much of my husband's behavior is toxic and how much is just me being sensitive. I'm learning that 90% of what he does is coercive control and emotional abuse. So I told my niece about the bath thing. She's 24 and has been helping me learn to stand up for myself. She called him a D head to his face and told him to leave me the F alone. Today I took a bath without interruption for the first time in 20 years. God, it felt good. I'm working on an escape plan. Physically, I am safe, but financially, I don't have an income. So I started a business and I started selling my artwork. I'm also looking for other sources of income and part time jobs that I can hopefully do while still taking care of our kids. It's going to take time, but I hope to be able to leave this awful marriage. When people ask the questions, why does she stay? Sometimes people don't know that what they are experiencing is abusive or is dysfunctional or chaotic because of how they were raised. This is one of the reasons why knowing and understanding someone's childhood, what their parents went through, is so important because you see someone's baseline for what is normal or common sense. That's the reason why many of these conversations being held in the public square are so important, because an outsider can say that is not normal. You should not be expected to put up with that. You need somebody to say that is abusive and you need to take your children away, or you need to create a plan, or this is how you can create a plan. That's why these conversations are crucial. All right, I'm going to leave it here. I'm glad that she did an update, and I'm glad that the seed has been planted that she needs this escape plan. And all she has to do now is get her finances together. This is also one of the reasons why I talk about that trad wife to single mom pipeline, or the trad wife to poverty pipeline, is real. Because when you have no foundation, no money of your own, it's a little bit more challenging to get out, because you know you have to take care of those kids. You know that women are typically the caretakers. Let me know what you think. Jump in the comments, like, comment, share. If you made it this far and you're not yet following me, go ahead and hit the follow button. Where do you fall on the topic of men calling themselves feminists? I'm not talking about men understanding that equality and feminism is important, but men actively using the label. So this was posted in the the self subreddit, and this is a man asking this question or making this assertion. He says, "Men that calls themselves feminists are always the creepiest." So you let me know where you stand on it, but let's get into this post. He says, "Don't get this wrong. I'm not against feminism or men taking steps in recognizing negative behaviors on themselves. But as a man, I wouldn't trust another guy calling himself a feminist, because every effing time one of my female friends have had a bad case of a stalker or an effing abuser is always the I respect women guy. It's always so creepy how these people go around reassuring everyone, oh, I know what consent is. I'm not an animal like all the other men. I'm so special." No, you are effing not. Most guys do know what consent is, but we don't go around saying stuff like that because we don't have to convince others. It is expected of us to effing know. This has come to the point where the more in the movement a guy tells me he is, the worst I think of him. But to be fair, the more fanatic someone is about anything, especially social movements and politics, the more of an a-hole that person proves to be over time. Just wanted to vent about this because it's truly getting out of hand, and I hate how this is affecting both female friends that just want to find a normal dude to date and male friends that are demonizing feminism. But F, between those a-holes and the small but really annoying group of women that see you as an animal for being a man, I think I'm starting to do so too. So, where do you land? I'm glad that a man is broaching this topic because it is important. A lot of the times, some of these people use this label to kind of ingratiate themselves with women. They know how to use some of the lingo because they go into subreddits, they go into feminist spaces, and they use that as a hook. They don't actually do the actions of feminism. They just speak some of the terms in order to get some nookie. So I definitely understand where he's talking about as far as being the creepiest. I hadn't actually thought about male feminists because a lot of times most of the men that enter our spaces are just men who are anti-feminist. The men who do come into my spaces and understand what women are going through, they don't have to put a label on themselves. They just understand the work that is needed for us to be safe, secure, happy, and healthy within this country, within this culture, within this globe. I think bringing this up, it just gives women just a little bit more to look for as far as men who label themselves this and speak some of the lingo. I don't think that men who label themselves this would come into our spaces because I think that they know that they will be found out because their actions won't really match up. But I'd like to know what you think. Let's get into a few of these comments. Radish Plus says, thankfully, as a woman, I have not had the same experience with men who say they are feminists. I suppose if one is very vocal about it, that could be a red flag. It might come up naturally in conversation, but there's no reason to be loud about it. I am a feminist, but I only say that maybe 3 to 4 times a year. Wise Focus says, I think that may be the type of guy who keeps explaining how feminist he is before going off on a rant about women. Like he now has a pass to do so. It's like the white guy who starts a story by saying he has a whole bunch of black friends, but you know what's coming out of his mouth next. Stingray Charles says, I'm not a racist. I have a lot of black friends, but insert racist statement. This person says, yes, I think there is definitely a population of genuinely good men who are also feminists and a population of narcs who claim to be feminists. It's not the label that defines a feminist, it's their actions. I think men who call themselves feminists could be rephrased as narcs who claim to be feminists and be spot on. Okay, exactly. And that's what Al Kaiser says. Exactly this. Male feminists are valid since the primary point of feminism is defining and oppressing the patriarchy, a system that diminishes and harms women, obviously, but which also harms men via unrealistic and cruel standards of masculinity. Boys don't cry. Solving problems with violence is celebrated. A man's worth is determined by his ability to financially provide. All of the inherent misogyny behind transphobia, homophobia in the context of traditional gender roles. Yes, patriarchy harms us all. The quicker men see that and examine it, they would want the patriarchy to tumble. So if they are doing the work, they are inherently doing the similar jobs as feminists. They're doing the same actions. They don't have to label themselves. Whoosh Bader says, as a male feminist, I'll say there's a difference between the all women are queens type of self proclaimed feminist and the I want to do my part in overthrowing the patriarchal system type of actual feminist. I think you'll have better experiences with the latter rather than the former because the former is about their personal interaction with women in their lives. So you're more likely to find people who expect some reward for their actions. Like you get a cookie because you say that women are equal. So here's your cookie. That's basically what he's saying. Women who call themselves queens are like men who call themselves alphas, but we're not talking about what women are doing in this particular thing because this is about the male perspective. Let's see. The OP says that's actually great. Hope to find more examples. Somebody must have said something above this and I didn't capture that. Sorry. Miffy says, I feel like this is a progressive version of he who prays the loudest sins the hardest. There are plenty of male feminists who are great people, myself, I hope, included, but we don't run around advertising that we're feminists at the top of our lungs because we don't have to. We are just decent people who discuss those ideas if and when it is appropriate in context. If you have to advertise that you're a good person, you're probably not doing a great job of being one. That is a great comment that encompasses many things, many demographics or groupings that people claim to be in, but they are not doing it well, but they will speak about being in that group. You can insert whatever group you want to do that right there. Anyways, jump in the comments. Let me know what you think about this one. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.